The total sales report allows you to truly track and analyze your sales performance over a period of time, offering you that flexibility to switch between different metrics and even your sales channels. To better understand this, we'll do a deep dive into each of the report's functionalities and how to utilize the data at hand, as well as apply custom filters to get a specific view into the sales performance as well. For starters, once we're inside of the report, we can very clearly see that there's multiple ways of diving in and dissecting your sales performance at hand. We can see at the top that we have different types of metrics. For example, we can very easily click into any of these here and see things like your order volume, as well as refunds that are going out, discounts that you're applying, gross margins, and even understand profitability with CM1. In addition to this, we can also take a look at different sales channels where we can understand different areas of the business and see how those sales channels are performing across the board and in comparison with each other. This is great for brands that utilize different sales channels like POS, your app performance, wholesale, and so much more. We can see them side by side by simply going over here to the compare with feature, where you can very easily select which sales channel you want to view side by side. For example, I want to view my POS versus my web sales channel, and I could see in terms of revenue how those sales channels are performing in comparison to each other. We can also take a look at different segments by changing your segment within the segment dropdown, as well as being able to adjust your time dimension over here, where we can see how your data changes when we break it up in a different way. For example, we could see how things are changing in my view when I switch to quarter versus in the monthly view previously. It's also really interesting to understand how certain periods are changing and developing over time. So we can see things like POP growth rates. That's something that's very clearly outlined when we scroll down at the bottom of the report, where we can clearly see how each period is changing and adjusting over time by simply looking at the POP growth section. Now, before diving into each individual metric here, I think it's important to understand why we are giving you a clear view into these areas of the business. Let's say, for example, we saw a drop in revenue within the month of February, and we wanted to understand why that happened and why it continued to stay pretty low. Was it because we had a lower order volume? Was it because we had more refunds that were going out at that time? Maybe there was more discounts being utilized. As you can see, there's a lot of benefits to understanding each layer of your sales performance by taking a look at each metric individually. So with that understanding, let's start off by taking a look at your revenue. With your revenue, we are, of course, looking at your net and gross revenue. And we're calculating those metrics by taking a look at your total gross revenue. And we are excluding things like your sales tax, discounts, and shipping revenue from both of those definitions. With your net revenue, we are also excluding your refunds, which attributes that refund back to the original order date rather than the data that it was processed. While we believe that these metrics make sense for excluding by default, as it allows you to see the real profitability, you can always make adjustments to these definitions by going over to the settings section of the report over here, and then changing each definition as you need to. Now let's dive into your order section. Within orders, of course, we can see how your orders are changing and developing over time, but we're also taking a look at orders that are not your zero value orders, pending, or voided orders. And that's simply because we wouldn't consider those orders a completed conversion. However, we understand that there are nuances to every business. So if you feel that those should be included, just reach out to our team and we'd be happy to help you. When it comes to your items, we are looking at the number of items sold before looking into returns. For brands that utilize things like gift with purchases, flyers, gift wrapping, things of that nature, even shipping and route protection, we can actually hide those types of items from being included in this type of report, as well as your product reports, by defining them as an order extra. An order extra can be hidden from these reports by going over to your settings section and then defining them as so. Now we can take a look at your refunds. With refunds, we can see, of course, the number of refunded orders as well as the refund amount as well. Now, unlike those net revenue calculations where we are attributing those refunds back to the original order date, in this view specifically, we are looking at the refunds in terms of the day that it was processed to give you a really clear view into that cash flow impact and how reimbursements like this can have an impact on your business. Now let's take a look at returns. Within returns, we are, of course, tracking your items that are returned over time, but we can also take a look at GMV, which is your gross merchandise value. GMV is different from refunds as it's considering the full amount paid by the customer, regardless of the actual amount that was refunded and processed back to the customer. The reason why we differentiate between these two metrics within returns is because there could absolutely be 1 month or a period of time where we have a low amount of items returned, but when taking a look at the GMV, it could be much more substantial in this view here. Now we can take a look at your discounts. Within discounts, we are of course tracking your total discounts and the resulting discount percentage granted to your customers over time. And we're basing those discounts off of the discount code specifically rather than your markdowns here. And we are looking at this on a very high level, but if you wanted to do a deeper dive into your discount codes and performance, we have a different report that we have called Best Coupon Codes where you can do that type of analysis there. Now let's take a look at your COGS. Within cost of goods sold, we are taking a look at the total cost required to bring your products into inventory and prepare it for sale. The COGS is a really crucial part of how we calculate our lifetime value, as the lifetime value is taking a look at total net revenue minus the total cost of goods sold. If you wanted to make adjustments to your COGS, you can absolutely do so and go into your settings section over here, where we can see different ways of adjusting your COGS as needed. Now we can take a look at your gross margins. When taking a look at your gross margins, we are getting a feel for the overall health of your business by taking a look at the percentage of revenue that's representing your profit. Whenever we're looking at your gross margins as a benchmark, and keep in mind, unlike this view here in our demo, that usually a healthy gross margin is anywhere from 50 to 70%. However, it's important to note that there's absolutely nuances per industry, and we understand that. So keep that in mind when trying to understand if you have a healthy gross margin or not. Now let's take a look at the overall profitability of your business, the CM1. Or contribution margin 1. The CM1 allows you to understand and monitor your profitability and how it's developing over time. Your CM1 is going to consider the cost of goods sold, so again referencing the total cost required to bring your product to inventory and prepare it for sale. So this would be the level that we are viewing within this section here. The total sales report is very versatile, giving you different ways to look at your sales performance overall by breaking it up by metric and even sales channel and segment. I hope this video gives you the confidence that you need to take a look at your data now and understand where you can start making changes and adjustments to really move the needle for your business.